welcome to this week's video. For this week, I'm going to be doing my wrap-up for the month of June. These are a few books that I read in the month. Um, I, I call it a good reading month, even though I had one DNF and the two books that I liked very much and I loved, the ending of both sort of kept it from going into keeper territory. The endings of both just sort of turned what would have been definitely 5-star books into maybe 4. And yeah, kept me from putting them on my keeper shelf. So let's talk about the DNF first because that will take the least amount of time. So the book I DNF'd, unfortunately, was Katherine Gaskin's The Summer of the Spanish Woman. This was an ebook. And I say unfortunately because I remember loving Katherine Gaskin's The Ambassador's Women. I remember loving that book. I should get it again and reread it because, as we've learned with Destiny by Sally Bowman, the years can change your perspective on a book. Most definitely. So I'm very interested in picking up that book again and rereading it and seeing if it still holds up because I took that book with me to Portugal a few years, 10 years ago, around 2003. So almost 10 years ago. Um, and excuse me, almost 20 years ago. Time, what are you? We don't know her. Almost 20 years ago. And it was a big mother book. I think at this point, I had read the Outlander books and the books that she had out of Outlander so far. So this one, The Ambassador's Women, I had taken with me as opposed to an Outlander book, which I think I definitely would have because those are damn big books too. Um, and I remember loving that book throughout my whole stay. We stayed there for about 2 months. And that was very much one of my that got me through that time, which it was a good trip, loved being there. But I was glad to be home and yeah. So Katherine Gaskin, definitely an author I enjoyed. Unfortunately, this book was not one of them. I think okay. So there's a family who the father has died and they're living on this estate, but because the father has died, uh, they lose the estate to this other guy because I think the estate didn't belong to them officially, or the father had lost it through some bad investments or something, and so this guy comes along, Richard, and he and the heroine Charlotte meet, who is the daughter of the man that died. They meet and they meet during a horse race. They're she's just out there riding a horse, and then all of a sudden he's out there riding a horse. It was very Bridgerton, and just out of the blue, they don't even say a hi, how do you do to each other, pretty much, and he just kisses her, and it's insta love, but whatever is higher than insta love, because there's been insta love in books where they meet in a day and they instantly fall in love with each other. These two, like, I don't even remember them saying a word to each other. And then all of a sudden, he kisses her, and she's like totally fine with this because he's hot, and that is the threshold. That is the guiding line. It's not creepy or inappropriate if he's hot. So, and then like, 'cause she doesn't know at the time, she doesn't know who he is, but fine, they're in this like glorious love for each other, and then oh, she finds out that he's the guy that's about to take her home away from her, and he's married. So he's married and just kisses this random woman, um, and somehow they kind of tell themselves that, or like he sort of rationalizes it as like, oh, if only I had known you existed before I married for. He doesn't love his wife. It's more a marriage of like um, money, position, that kind of thing. And so, fine. Now, he and his wife, who is portrayed as a bitch, of course, because of course, why wouldn't she be? She's the woman who is in uh, the middle of these two true lovebirds getting together. So of course, she's a bitch. Um, and so he and his wife are taking over the house, and Charlotte and her mother have to move. So they decide that instead of going to Ireland, which would, you know, perhaps give them, it would be better for them, they decide to go to Spain because the father has this little sort of estate, or not necessarily little, like he has another estate, a vineyard, and that was given to him by um, the husband of the man that he was also in love with, of the woman that he was also in love with. So the husband was in love, excuse me, the father was in love with this Spanish woman, and the Spanish woman, for some reason, didn't choose him but married this other guy. And the other guy, I think, um, sort of gave the father that kind of estate, or she gave him the estate as sort of a parting gift or something. So now Charlotte and her mother go to this estate to um, sort of rebuild their lives. Well, they get to the estate, and the guy doesn't want to give them the estate. He's like, I'll let you guys stay here, for as long as you want, because we Spanish people are so hospitable that we're not going to kick you out, but you can stay here as long as you need to, but we're not giving you the estate. Like, we're staying here, and we're going to continue to own the estate, because I think something like when the father died, it like went back to him, or yeah, but the guy who owns the estate, he has a son. He has a son named Carlos, and uh, so he and Charlotte sort of uh, make like a rapport, and they get along. And for some reason, uh, Charlotte kisses him, and kind of like, and sort of like makes it seem like it was inevitable that he would kiss her and that she would kiss him back. And um, it just, I didn't understand. And like, yeah, like some time had passed, but they had built up this love of Charlotte and Robert, or Richard, as like so, you know, that they were going to like pine for each other forever. And then just out of the blue, this Carlos guy kisses her, and she lets him, and is totally fine with it, and seems to be building a relationship with this guy. And so I DNF'd the book because just I didn't. And there was a lot of description of wine, a lot of description of the making of wine. I mean, like, I get it. They're on a vineyard. But holy shish kebab. Every other page was info dumps. Like, once they get to the vineyard, every other page was like info dumps of like how to do this and like how to do that. And just, if I am fine with like little bits thrown in here and there as they're like going about their like daily lives. But I'm not here to learn how to make wine. I'm here for apparently the grand epic love story of Charlotte and Richard. I, yeah, and when it just seemed like she was totally okay with this random Carlos dude kissing her, and she let him because it was inevitable. That, I think that's an actual quote in the book. Yeah, no. No. Alright, so I DNF'd it. And then we have Annie's Song by Catherine Anderson. Now, I love Catherine Anderson, and I liked this book immensely. It is the story of a deaf girl named Annie, deaf woman named Annie, whose family does not understand, her parents do not understand the fact that she's deaf. They think that she's mentally challenged. So she's sort of raised by them, um, very sheltered, sort of kept away from life and society as much as possible. Because when she does go out in society, the kids, like, they make fun of her and they tease her, and it's just horrible. And um, they keep her pretty much at home because they do not want to put her in like an institution. They don't want to send her away and put her um, in some kind of like facility or whatever. Put a pin in that. We'll come to that. Come back to that later. And uh, one one of the few joys that Annie has is going out into the woods, and she communes with nature, and she is friendly to animals, and she loves animals, and um, but there is a guy, a very, very, very bad man named Douglas, who is the head of a small gang of which he is definitely in charge, and he is very much a violent alcoholic. He's very much a violent, uh, especially when he's been drinking. Um, so he and his gang, who pretty much are afraid of him, so they pretty much do whatever he says, come upon Annie one time when she's in the woods and by this waterfall, and Douglas rapes her. And thankfully, we don't get any like real detail into that, but Douglas rapes her, and um, they his brother sort of finds out. I don't remember how his brother Alexander finds out, but um, he oh yeah, it's one of the gang members is like pretty horrified by this, and uh, I think either doesn't turn him into the cops, I don't think, but tells his brother what Douglas did. So his brother Alexander is horrified, horrified by what his brother did because Alex is a good man. He's a good stand-up man who has raised his brother alone since the death of their parents, and feels he has perhaps spoiled Douglas out of a sense of guilt for accidentally killing the parents um, during like a prank thing that like goes wrong. So maybe yeah. So he goes to Annie's parents and offers to marry Annie when it's discovered that Annie is pregnant. And there's some back and forth where the parents are like, no, we don't want you to marry her. We want to keep her here. And then Alex is like, no, like, I can take care of her at my place. And then, what is she going to do with the baby when the baby's born? I'll take it and I'll take care of it. All this is like happening around Annie because they all assume that she's too mentally challenged to take care of a baby or even realize what has happened to her and what is happening. Um, so eventually, yes, Annie does in a wedding where she does not even understand what's happening because later she finds out that that is what happened and she's heartbroken because the wedding was pretty much just a very rushed. There was a preacher and there was Alex and there was her and there was her parents, and it was a very sort of official, understandably not celebratory event. And so Annie goes to live with um, Alex at his because Alex is from one of the richest families in town. So she goes to live at his estate. And there is a wonderful maid who I cannot remember her name right now, but Millie? Millicent? I know she's Irish. And the narrator for Annie's song was fantastic. I loved her so much. She did such a great job. And uh, the 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 housekeeper maid was just wonderful and like wonderful with Annie, and Alex sort of was like trying to keep his distance and um, was just sort of biding his time until the baby was born and he could take the baby. But of course, he gets to know Annie and he realizes that with the housekeeper's help that she's not mentally challenged. They discover that what she is deaf. So Annie sort of really kind of blossoms under Alexander and the maid's help with like learning how to communicate and um, slowly like um, their feelings for each other of course grow and they start falling in love and it's beautiful. And I was, because it was a Catherine Anderson book, I was prepared to cry, and which made me think that perhaps I remember when I first got it and I was like, maybe I should not have got this as as an Audible, because Catherine Anderson Catherine Anderson writes very emotional books. And so I did not know if I was going to end up crying on the subway either to or from work. But while this had some very lovely moments in it, some very like heartwarming and heartbreaking moments in it, it didn't quite push me to the point where I had like actual tears welling up. Um, But I loved it, and sadly, the part that makes it not be a 5-star book for me was towards the end when Alex, and again, Alex at this point loves her, and we had we had Douglas show up at the house in the middle of the night, and wanting, you know, pretending to want Alex's forgiveness, but what he really wants was money, and Alex completely like figured that out. And when Alex refuses to give it to him, he makes a threat like this isn't over, I and then it just sort of is. Not the book, but any like threat or retaliation by Douglas. And I didn't like that he just sort of went away. I would have liked, instead of where the book actually did go, I would have liked for Douglas to make trouble for Annie and Alex by, somehow claiming the child, and they could have like had like a court battle, and because like who was going to believe that like she was raped or what have you, even though like her father was the judge of the town. Like I just would have liked more of from the Douglas part of the plot. But no, Alex refuses to give him the money, and then Douglas just sort of goes away and is never heard from again, which I thought was a lost opportunity. Um, what Alex does do is, as Annie is learning to communicate and she's learning sign language, um, Alex decides that he's being selfish, keeping her here, keeping her for himself and home, and um, she, and then he decides once the baby's born, and at this point, he's totally in love with her, and they're keeping the baby, and it's beautiful, and they're together. Um, but once the baby's born, and Alex decides that he's being selfish, and he thinks that it's better for her. Now remember, her parents kept her home. They did not want her to go to like an institution, or because granted, everyone knows back then, and even certainly now in some ways, um, mental health facilities are not the best places to be. Certainly not back in those days. But Alex decides that he's going to send Annie away. Not to a mental health facility, granted, but he wants her to go to a school for the deaf, because in his mind, he's being selfish, keeping her with him, and he wants her to have um, experiencing, like a school environment with like people like her, and to learn new things, and to have like good like social experiences, and like go to parties with like people, and like people like her, and just make other friends. So he's coming from a good place. However, if this had been anybody else, I would have been on board with the character going to like a school for the deaf, and like somehow he's decided that the best thing is if he stays And she goes to this school and is apart from him for a year. I This is a girl who had has been away from who- like this is a girl who her family did not want to send her away. Granted, it was again to a mental health facility, a school would be different, but not that different because she'd still be being sent away from people that she loves. And if this was any other girl, I would have been like, yeah, this is a good thing for her, blah, blah, blah. But no, no, this was a bad idea. And I'm glad that eventually Alex does walk it back and goes and is like, no, I shouldn't have sent you. Because Annie thinks that he's sending her away because she's an embarrassment to him. Because she can't communicate like all his when if he's gonna have to have like business associates and have go out in society and meet with people who could um be good for his business and have dinners and have parties, and she thinks that he would be embarrassed by her. And I can totally understand her feeling that way, even though that's not why he's doing it. It makes sense with the childhood that she's had and with the life that she had with her parents. it's it was just such a huge stupid mistake to make that even though he realized that he was making a mistake, no matter how good his intentions were, and went to go get her and said that no, we'll continue your lessons with me, and and the maid, who I cannot remember her name, damn it, but I loved her so much. um and we're a family, they're married, they have a baby, and he's sending her off, and just no. So even though he brought her back and everything, and it all ends lovely, that that one bit that he did just kept just the ending fell flat to me because of that. That should not have been um the ending, him sending her off and then realizing, oh no, I made a terrible mistake, let me go get her and bring her home and blah, blah, blah. That should not have been the ending. In my opinion, the ending should have been Douglas's retaliation and somehow trying to take the baby away from her, and they go into there's a court battle, and you know they you know Annie and Alex of course win, and Douglas goes to jail or hopefully dies. That should have been the ending, in my opinion. So that's what kept the book from being a 5 stars and going into the keeper shelf for me. Because up to that point, up to the point before Alex sends Annie away, I was loving the book so much. I mean, just watching Annie and Alex's love grow, watching her, you know, not let what happened to her ruin becoming intimate with Alex, and just their love scenes and her blossoming sensuality under being safe with this man that she loves was just gorgeous. And then it took a turn and it just fell flat for me. So Annie's song not my favorite Catherine Anderson, sadly, because of the end. But the same sort of thing happened with this book, but I still loved it as well. Same sort of thing. Loved it, but the ending fell flat. And that was Lisa Kleypas's Again the Magic, with the insert cover, which for some reason I don't understand why a lot of people in the romance book community call them step backs. I don't understand why an inserted cover clearly is called a step back. But I file that under the same people who call clearly purple onions red. I don't understand. I don't understand why everybody calls them red onions when they're clearly purple. But I can go on a whole other rant about that. So, we have childhood friends, which right away, love my friends to lovers. We have Aileen, who is an earl's daughter, and we have John McKenna, who is a stable boy, who we call him McKenna. And they eventually fall in love, but her father finds out, thanks to her sister Livia, who tells the father that this is going around, that this is happening, that McKenna and Aileen are fooling around, and Aileen's father tells Aileen that Aileen's father threatens McKenna's life and threatens also to ruin him if Aileen doesn't send him away. So Aileen agrees in order that her father doesn't kill McKenna, and also makes him promise that he's going to make sure that McKenna has a job. Aileen's father summons McKenna and kicks him off the estate, but he rushes to Aileen and he's like, he's sending me away, but don't worry, I will find a way to come back to you. And so Aileen is forced to break his heart so that he doesn't come back to her, so that her father doesn't kill and or ruin him. McKenna is clearly heartbroken and angry at Aileen for the cruelty that she is forced to treat him with, acting like he was nothing, and like she was a pleasant diversion, and she of course could never be with a stable boy because she is an earl's daughter. And so she says all this to him, and he of course is sent off brokenhearted and angry. And then Aileen has an accident in the estate's kitchen where she is very badly burned, um, in her legs are very badly injured and very badly burned. So then we jump to about 12 years later, and McKenna is back, and he's a successful man, and he's friends with this man named Gideon, and McKenna returns, and he has a plan that he's going to seduce Aileen and he's going to destroy her. Aileen decides that she's going to allow him to seduce her because she wants to have, one good thing. One good thing, one moment of happiness in the 12 years that she's had without him. And she's going to allow him to seduce her, but not actually confess her love for him or anything like that, because she's afraid to have a relationship with him because she doesn't want him to know about her disfigurement of her legs. So she's going to let him seduce her for her own for herself. And of course, she, doesn't really know that like his plan is to seduce her and destroy her, but she's gonna let him seduce her because she wants to sleep with him, because she wants to have like one good thing, because she loves him still, of course. There's this huge subplot with Livia and McKenna's business friend Gideon, which it just I don't when I'm reading a romance, I want Aileen's point of view, I want McKenna's point of view. If I'm reading like a family saga thing, that's a different story. And thus far, the only like subplot things that I have like enjoyed, I think was like Anne Gracie's The Stolen Princess, and the book after that, the book that I read after that, which his captive lady. That was the only subplot I think that worked for me. As a rule, I don't enjoy subplots with other couples in my romance novels. And so if they give them their own book, give Livia and Gideon their own book, because their story was like half the book. Literally, like, yeah. How many pages was this book? 391 pages, so almost 400 pages. I'd say 200 of those pages was Livia and Gideon, which I am not here for. I am here for Aileen and McKenna's story. So that was a strike against it. So Aileen and McKenna start a sexual relationship, but she makes him believe that she is in an open relationship with a man named Adam, who is her very best friend. And I loved Adam so very much. I just loved Adam. He is her best friend and goes along with pretending to be her uh her romantic interest, her um intended, um even though he is very much gay. And I just loved him. They now, like, Aileen and McKenna are, having this, lovely uh rom- lovely like sexual relationship, and of course the feelings are there, and they're like getting just like even stronger. But McKenna and Gideon have to take this business trip, and uh Aileen arranges it so that Livia can sneak out and go to and follow Gideon to I think it's New York. Yeah, I think it's New York. Uh, and before their brother can figure out that she's gone, because the father has, thank God, died, and so the estate is being run by their older brother Marcus, who is, he's sort of he's the estate manager. He's the head of the household. He has, he's trying to be, a responsible, good head of the household. But he's much better. He's much better than their father was. He loves his sisters, and he, cares about them. He just sort of lets his position as the head of the family kind of um, go too far sometimes. Again, very Bridgerton. But um, so Olivia goes with them, and she and Gideon again, got their little romance going, and it took way too long, way too much focus off Aileen and McKenna. Um, but she confesses to McKenna that she was the one who told Aileen's father that they were fooling around, and she's the reason that he was kicked off the estate. And that she confesses pretty much everything, almost everything. She confesses that the reason that Aileen pushed him away was because the father threatened him, and that was the reason why she said the things that she said, and that Aileen has like always loved him. And of course, this is a blow to McKenna because he's been fighting the fact that he's, all these feelings for Aileen have been like reemerging, and he hasn't been able to fight them. So he's been trying to fight it, but now he knows that McKenna, or excuse me, that Aileen loves him and has always loved him. Livia tells him all that, but she doesn't tell him about uh, Aileen's injury and about that her legs are burned. So while Aileen is mad at her sister for spilling the beans about why uh, she had to send McKenna away, at least she's like, okay, at least you didn't tell him about my legs. There's a scene where McKenna goes to Aileen, and he is like, he humbles himself completely before her, and he's like, I didn't know, like, I'm sorry that I, you know, came back with like bad intentions, and I'm sorry that I didn't, that I've been hating you all these years, even though I've really been loving you, and, I wish that now that I know the truth, I still love you, and let's get married, and, just completely like bearing his soul to her. And she's like, no, I can't, my legs. And I wanted to smack her. Look, I understand that she doesn't want, she feels like he's going to like be like repulsed by her legs, or he's going to feel pity for her, and she doesn't want him with her. If she accepts his proposal and then he's like repulsed by her legs, she doesn't want him with her out of like obligation of like, oh, like I am not attracted to her anymore, I don't love her anymore, but I've made this vow, and now as a man of honor I have to stick to it. She does not want that to happen. I understand. However, the brother tries to like shake her and is like, do you not, like, are you so blinded kind of like by your own like physical beauty that you can't imagine being less than perfect, and that McKenna would love you, if he truly loves you, he would love you no matter any like physical imperfections that you may have. Like, you are so used to being so beautiful that you can't fathom someone loving you for being less than perfect. And like, I know what he was going for, but I did not like that that's sort of what makes Aileen sort of wonder, like, maybe she's wrong. Maybe he will love me even though I'm this hideous, disfigured thing now, and not like only like the top part of me is like physically beautiful. I didn't really like that scene very much because I, and like, it's hard for me to explain why and like have it make sense outside of my own brain, because I never really thought of Aileen as this like superficial, you know, character. And yet I think that conversation made her superficial. And like even though like she like came to the realization like, oh, he should love me anyway, even though I'm this horrible disfigured thing. Instead of it like making her have her having that realization, making instead of making me like sympathize with her, or like it's hard to explain. Like it made me think of her as superficial when I hadn't up to that point. And it really kind of like dimmed her as a heroine in my eyes. Because this was not just a guy who you were like, oh, he was my boyfriend and like I had to send him away. Their love was this beautiful thing that, she didn't give a crap that he was like a stable boy. She, like, the way that this love was described was just this all encompassing, beautiful soulmate thing. And then to have her, like, I would have been fine if McKenna had come to, her, which, like, he eventually does. Like, he eventually does come, and I think it's the maid, the housekeeper. They have a housekeeper, Miss Farnsworth or Fairsworth or something like that. Who she's lovely, and she's raised like kind of pretty much raised both of them since they were children, and knew that they loved each other and saw all that, and like tried to help where she could. I think she's the one that tells him about Aileen's legs. And he goes to Aileen, and he is understandably and in my mind justifiably pissed off that that is the final reason that she decided that she was not accepting his proposal. That was the final thing that was keeping them apart, was her fucking legs. And he's like, "Are you kidding me? Everything that we've been through, and you think I would give a shit about your legs? I'm not in love with your legs. I'm in love with you as a human, as a person. You are my," basically telling her that she's his soulmate. So he, he eventually, though, like, he forgives her for doing that, and, she, they make love, and it's lovely, and they live happily ever after. And there's the one moment with, where he is like, like, get rid of, you have to tell Adam that it's over, and like that you're not with him anymore, and if I have to fight him, I will, kind of thing. And I do not like, I did not like, very, very highly did not like the fact that Aileen tells him that McKenna's not, that Adam's not a threat because he's gay. I really did not like that, because especially in that time period. Now we know that McKenna's a good guy, and he was not going to go and like turn in Adam to, the authorities and get him arrested for being a homosexual. But it was not McKenna's business to know that. If Adam wanted to go to him and tell him, "Hey, you don't have to worry about me as a rival because I'm more likely to jump you than I am to jump Aileen." If Adam had gone of his own free, uh, will and to McKenna and told him that, that would be one thing. For Aileen to out him like that was not okay with me. Up until that point, I loved Aileen's relationship with Adam, and I'm sure that Adam was like fine with it or what have you. But that was not okay to me. Um, so yeah, they make up and he forgives her, or McKenna forgives Aileen, and she goes off to live with him in the States. So that kept that bit of a downturn in the ending kept this from being a 5-star book. And I really didn't like how the epilogue was from Livy's point of view. It's Livia getting a letter from her sister from the States and talking about how, lovely it is, and like how, she and McKenna are like living in the States and, doing their business and all this. And Livia and Gideon at this point are not necessarily together because Gideon has a drinking problem that he still needs to get through. So he's like pushed Livia away, even though clearly they love each other. So the epilogue is in Livy's point of view, which I did not like. Because again, I'm here for McKenna and Aileen. I'm not here for Livia and Gideon. I'm sure that I would be perfectly happy with them in their own book. But they took up half this book. So I was not pleased with that. So that actually I said that this took this from the 5 stars to a 4-star, but no, I actually gave the book 3 stars. Yeah, so there's that. Yeah, again, loved the majority of this book. Just did not like that all the Livia and Gideon intrusion, and the ending fell really flat for me. So that's going to be it for this week's video. Oh, what am I reading right now? I'm about to start in paperback. Well, first, I got my Audible for this coming month. Is Jenna Jameson's and Hope Tar, and actually written by, or co-written by, Hope Tar, Sugar. And yeah, that Jenna Jameson. She wrote a book. So I'm very interested to see, and I like the premise, which I will tell you more about perhaps in my July wrap up if I end up enjoying it, or I will tell you about it in my July wrap up if I end up not enjoying it. But yeah, so that's the Audible. I don't have my ebook for this month yet, but in paperback, I am going to be reading The Secrets of Sir Richard Kenworthy by Julia Quinn. And I am reading a Julia Quinn after Lisa Kleypas for reasons. And I'm not going to tell you what those reasons are, but it'd be a good thing if you subscribe to my channel. Let's just say that. Because there might be a video coming up in which there's a point to me reading a Julia Quinn after Lisa Kleypas. There's a point to that. I'm doing it for a reason. If you want to know what that reason is, hit that subscribe button. Hit the little notification bell so that you'll be notified when this reason video pops up. But let's read the blurb for The Secrets of Sir Richard Kenworthy. Iris has vowed to love, honor, and even obey Sir Richard Kenworthy, but she's still not quite sure how it all happened. He might have been staring at her across a crowded room, but the evening was anything but enchanted. And his proposal, it was deliciously passionate, but well, wasn't it a bit rushed? But if her new husband has secrets, he's hiding them well. She knows she's falling in love. But what happens when the secrets come out? So, I love my Julia Quinn, love my Lisa Kleypas too, but really looking forward to that one. And clearly, that's obviously a historical romance. No insert cover, and technically no even back cover, because I got this from my old evil day job, and somebody had left it for me in on uh, one of the pharmacy tables. Yeah, so that's how I got that one. So that's going to be it for this week's video. Follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/authorejamie. Like my Facebook page at facebook.com/authorejamie. And make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because pretty soon ish, depending on like Evil Day Job and how much time I have to actually record, because I'm very close to finishing the book that I'm working on right now, which is Will's story, Blood Vows Book 4, The Choice. I think I have like maybe like 1 or 2 chapters left, and then Will's story will be done. And then I will have a little bit more free time to make the videos. So pretty soon, you will get the video that I am alluding to. So hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/authorejamie, like my Facebook page at facebook.com/authorejamie, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!